Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today you are joining me in the Audi A7. Now, I've had this car for about 6 months now, and I thought I'll wrap up my thoughts on this car for you guys in the form of what it's like to live with, give you my thoughts on it, and call it like a long-term review if you will, and kind of take it from there. Now, I've had this car, like I say, for about 6 months now, and I've just realized that it's actually fitted with launch control functionality, so I'm going to launch the car for you guys anyway. So for those of you that are new to the channel, let me just quickly give you an overview of the car. This is an Audi A7 2019 model year. It's a 50 TDI, meaning that it's a 3-litre V6 engine mated to an 8-speed ZF gearbox. It has about 286 horsepower and about 620 newton meters of torque, so I kind of think that there's quite a lot of poke in this car as it is anyway. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and drive this car and give you my kind of thoughts, how it's been like to live with. So something to note is that from the exterior, I've had the car de-chromed, so it's got like the black grille, the black window surrounds, the black trimming around the rear end, and I've also had, like say, the Maxton kit fitted to it as well, splitter, side skirts, and the spoiler, just to make it a little bit more personal. So now that aside, I'm now gonna go ahead and give you guys my thoughts about this car over the last sort of 6 months that I've owned it. So my Audi A7, I've had this car for about 6 months, and I think one of the things that I really do like about this car is the lines of the car, how the car has been, say, styled. Every time I park the car up, I do like look back onto it, and from whatever angle I kind of look at the car, I think it has a real nice profile, and that's just something that I just love about this car, hands down. I think I see more like Mercedes CLS's out on the road compared to A7, so there's probably even a little bit more, like say, exclusiveness about owning this car. And generally, like wherever you kind of like go and you park up and you've got like that little pop-up spoiler popped up, you do get a lot of people just looking at the car as well, which I think it kind of adds to that kind of ownership exclusiveness. I think it's just brilliant having that feature. And I really think that from a day-to-day point, the car, this one fitted with the 3-litre V6 diesel engine, it's fairly like efficient. I generally, around town, if I'm just driving it, I generally get like say about 400 miles to a tank as well, and that equates to like probably about 30 odd miles to the gallon. Now I've done like a full like in-depth MPG type of vid. If you want to go and check that out, I'll link it up on the screen right now. But from a daily driving point, I think it's a very nice kind of a cruise mobile, and just like hoots around up and down the country without hardly any effort. The one thing that I would say about this car that I've noticed is obviously it's got the 20-inch wheels now. I think you can probably get it with the smaller set, but 20 inches is fine. You can get it with like a 21-inch set wheel as well. But I kind of think that this car, because it doesn't have the adaptive dampers, it's just the S-Line sport suspension, it's not as comfortable as it could be. And what I mean by that is it's generally okay for like say 70-80% of the time, but then occasionally you'll just get like a a little crash when it hits like a I wouldn't even say a deeper pothole, because generally it's actually okay, but occasionally it just becomes a bit unsettled, which is a bit annoying for a car of this kind of class. I think if this had like at least the adaptive, if not the air suspension, I think it would have been much better, but I couldn't find one with one of those options at the time, so I just went for it. Behind the wheel, I don't ever feel like I'm tired when I get out the other side of the journey, even when I did more recently 200-mile stint when I went away. And I think these seats are quite good from that comfort point. They've got like 4-way lumbar support as well, which is quite nice as well. So I don't really think that there's any way that you'd feel tired at the end of a journey in this car. The power plant of this car, it's a 3-litre V6 engine with an 8-speed ZF gearbox. I don't really have any issue with like say the power delivery, but I think the gearbox needs to be recalibrated somewhat. It's not as sharp to kind of kick down, especially around town. On the motorway, it always seems to want to like kick down quite frequently, which I don't think is a bad thing, because when you want to go for the overtake, it's always there. But I think just generally around town, it's just a little bit sluggish. I think that just might be like a calibration on this particular car. So that's probably something that I might look into sort of getting done if I go down the remap point. Hint hint. So in terms of reliability, I mean, these cars, maybe it's just mine, I have had a few issues with this car, and more recently I did a vid on the problems that I've had with this car. Mainly it's that light faults thing, and that again has been rectified again with a software update. Let's see how long that lasts. And the key issue, well, I've got a brand new key now from Audi, which is up here. It's quite a nice looking key, which they've obviously, you know, sourced and reprogrammed, so I've not had any issues with that. I have been in dialect with the dealership as well, and there's a few things that, you know, we've kind of worked on together, so I'm hoping that's an end of a bad experience with them. I mean, in terms of, like, say, coming back to the reliability, I've not had any major issues, like from, like, say, an engine point or a gearbox point or anything like that, which is quite good. I have still got a warranty on the car, so if anything goes wrong with it, then at least I've got something to lean on from that point. So we're going to launch the car. You put the car into dynamic, take the traction control off, foot on the brake, floor the throttle, launch control active. Wow. Okay, there we go. Launch. Now this car apparently is meant to do a launch in, like, say, 5.7 seconds. It probably felt like that. Mind the good old tractor coming up. Don't want to get that on the car. So yeah, probably felt as quick as a 5.7. So there we go. A launch in a diesel as well. How great is that? So one thing that I can't help notice from a daily point since I've owned the car is how big this thing is. That's great for, like, say, the amount of interior space and, like, you know, for passengers and for luggage and all of that. You know, can't fault that at all. You know, it's great for space. Trying to thread this thing down through a local narrow street is a nightmare at best of times. I mean, yes, you've got all the cameras going off and you can see whatever's, you know, where, you know, how close you're getting to, like, say, cars or objects or whatever, but it is a big thing, you know, just to even, like, when it's just parked up, how much it kind of, like, say, steps out from curbside. But yeah, that's just something about this thing, and I'm not sure if any of its direct competitors are going to be any different, but it is quite a big thing to kind of drive. And usually, like, say, when I'm driving this car, I tend to have, you know, my kind of, it's more about me, especially, like, say, locally as well, because you don't want to have anyone just coming and pranging it. And when you're parking you up in, like, say, supermarket car parks, it pretty much takes up all of the bay. It is quite a big old car. But yeah, that's part of the appeal why I bought this car, because I had a vision, like, when I'm doing, like, say, you know, long journeys, you just want to sit back and relax and, you know, let the car do its thing with all of its, like, aids going off. And yeah, and it's just some of that sensation that kind of comes through, you know, wafting along in comfort. Can't knock it for that. I wouldn't say this car is sporty in any way, because it's more comfort orientated. Even with, like, its S-line suspension and all of that stuff, you know, yes, you can put it into dynamic like the way we do. The engine becomes a bit more responsive, gearbox goes into sport, it kicks down a little bit more quicker, and yeah, that's probably when you're gonna get the best of the engine performance and the torque on power, and before you know, you're doing some stupid speeds. But how often do I drive it in dynamic? Very rare. Most of the time it's just sat in, like, say, either comfort or auto, and that's a nice blend. We got a nice little bend coming up now, so let's see how it kind of fares through here. I'm actually having to brake because you can probably see that it's got a bit of body roll to it, but it's not really made for, like, say, a backstreet hoon, this car. I mean, the sense of speed that you get in this is quite serene, as in it just gets to speed quite quick. So from that point, you know, it's got plenty of poke, to be honest with you. You don't really even have to work the engine that hard. A lot of that torque, I wouldn't say comes in quite low, comes in around 2000 RPM upwards. But once it's on boost, you know, it just carries on going, which is quite a nice thing. And generally that's what you find when you're driving it on the motorway. It is quite effortless to drive, which is quite a good thing. And, you know, trying to just flick it through different modes is quite easy as well. Just bring up the drive select and choose whatever mode that you want to go in. overall, I think if you guys were to go and buy one of these cars, I don't think you'd be disappointed. From a point of, like, say, the type of car it is. I mean, you wouldn't buy this car for, you know, country lane hoons or anything like that, but you do get like a vast array of, like, say, engines and stuff like that, so you can choose from. I would say though, I would highly recommend that you go for one of, like, say, the 6-cylinder 3-litre engines, whether it's a petrol or whether it's like a diesel, just because this car, not only is it quite big, but it's quite a heavy car. It's like, say, 1.9 tons, so you definitely need one of the bigger engines rather than one of the 2-litre 4-pot engines, whether it's a diesel or a petrol. One thing that I do find annoying is, I don't know if you can see from the shot here, this car has got lane keep assist, so the steering wheel is always intervening, just trying to keep you in lane. And it's not bad, like, say, if you're tired and you're on, like, say, a motorway journey, but on the country lane, you know, I think I'm just gonna switch that off because it's a bit intrusive and it thinks there's a line in the road, but there's a hedge on this side and I don't want to go into it. So overall, I think it has been quite a good car to drive. I do hope that you have enjoyed this vid, giving you my honest opinion about this car over my ownership. And if you have, give it a like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And hopefully, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.